Howdy, mon amis, and welcome to the Cryptid Caravan, where we holler new monsters all the time. The hillbilly who could not make it today, he tried to hunt down that frogman again. So he asked me to tell you folk a legend about a beast that stalked the bayou, the Cajun Rougarou, or the Lougarou to some folk. That's midchief for werewolf. The Rougarou stalks the swamps down around New Orleans, and while he may look like a regular werewolf, with a large human body topped by the head of the wolf and glowing red eyes, this ain't no regular werewolf. He can change between human and wolf at will. Ain't no full moon in this equation. The legend was about the Louisiana with the French settlers in the area, as werewolf tales were prevalent in France since medieval times. And with a legend that this old, we get a little trouble keeping our details straight. Those of the Catholic persuasion said a Rougarou stalked New Orleans, punishing those Catholics who don't adhere to Lent. And if you happen not to practice Lent seriously for 7 years straight, you get cursed to hunt as the Rougarou. Talk about your angry and vengeful God. Others treat it as a genetic disorder that appears in normal person after a triggering event. Die hell, I'd have put a trigger warning on this. The body will begin transforming, including a craving for meat. The metamorphosis completing with the first bite of human flesh. Of course, most of us Cajuns think there's something magic behind this myth, a witch that curses people with lycanthropy for 101 days, and after that, the curse passes on to the last person the Rougarou bit. And the legend holds, if you get enough of the Rougarou together, they throw big balls under the full moon and dance the night away. One of the older stories associated with the legend comes from the 1890s. A New Orleans businessman moved out to the bayou with his wife-to-be, Madeline, whose family often told him of Rougarou legends. He was drinking at a bar one night when he overheard a young hunter bragging about his skills. Well, the businessman made a drunken bet with the hunter to kill a Rougarou. Heck, I once bet a man I could shoot an apple off of his head. Needless to say, I'm not allowed in Baton Rouge anymore. The hunter returned to the bar later that following night with a blooded sack. He told a story how he was attacked by the beast and was able to cut off its paw before scaring the wolfman away with a gunshot. Passing the bag off, the businessman opened it up to see the trophy, but both were shocked to find not the paw of a wolf, but the hand of a petite woman. The businessman happened to recognize a ring on the hand. Well, I think we all know where this is going. He rushed home to his Madeline to find her arm wrapped up in a shawl. Forcing her to remove it, the businessman witnessed the mangled stump where her hand ought to be. Good news, being wounded caused the Rougarou curse to leave her. The bad news, she's not going to get her deposit back for that ring. Now, one of the more recent sightings come from a hunter heading back to his boat after a long day of hunting. It was near sunset when he came upon a creature with gray fur. At first he believed it was a large dog. It even snarled at him like one. It changed his mind though when the thing started to grow in size. He stood up on 2 legs and began to howl, a hazy fog surrounding its feet. The hunter dropped to the ground and crawled towards his boat, too afraid to look back. And many Louisiana farmers attribute cattle mutilations to Rougarou attacks. But these are just anecdotal stories with real little proof to back them up. But there may have been the real sighting of a Rougarou carcass in 1966. And this one has photos. Driving down a stretch of Highway 12, Barbara Mullins caught a glimpse of an unusual piece of roadkill. She stopped to take some photos, which would later be published in the DeQuincy News. Mullins would describe the body as the size of a St. Bernard and covered in thick brown fur. Thick fur in this Louisiana heat? You'd think that this thing was a big dog. Mullins did, until upon closer examination, she noted it had ape-like hands, not dog paws, and facial features like a baboon. 4 years later, Roy Young examined the photos and insisted they were proof of a Rougarou body. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife offers a different examination. They say it's just the carcass of a Pomeranian. Well, they could have tried a little harder to make up an explanation. Since the last 17 years, nothing new has come from the story of the Derrida roadkill. With the Rougarou being a cryptid held near and dear in the hearts of the French people of Louisiana, he has made a few appearances every now and again in pop culture. Louisiana hosts a Rougarou festival around Halloween each year, and the New Orleans Obden Zoo as an exhibit dedicated to the beast. He would make his first of many TV appearances in the 70s with The Moon of the Wolf, episodes of Monsters and Mysteries in America, Cajun Justice, and Cryptid Swamp Beast were dedicated to the Cajun werewolf. There's even an episode of Supernatural featuring a Rougarou that followed closer to the DNA theory. In 2015, Cedar Point revamped one of its coasters, renaming it after the beast too. While still not as popular as European counterpart, the Rougarou is a famous werewolf, especially in the South. Now, whether it was created from a witch's curse, bad genetics, or sacrilegious actions, or if it's just a hoax used to scare kids into doing what they're told, well, that's for you to decide. I just give you the history.